In 1803, one of Philipsburg's founding families suffered a familiar tragedy for the time, the death of a child. Henry and Rosalie Schultz lost their infant daughter Sally to the croup. Since the original planning of the settlement did not account for a graveyard, they buried her on their property beneath the shade of a sturdy oak tree. That tree still stands today. Now called the Founder's Oak, it is estimated to be over 380 years old. The Schultzes then allowed other families to bury loved ones on their hallowed ground. When the town decided to build a meeting house to serve as both school and church, this consecrated land was the ideal spot. In 1820, the Union Church was built, with labor and materials provided by the local community, particularly businessman Hardman Phillips, who donated $75 of the $340 to complete the log structure. The original list of donors, complete with accounting, is displayed in the church today. Sometimes fulfilling one need can lead to fulfilling many. The burial ground and the accompanying Union Church exemplify this. Life in the 1800s was challenging and survival tenuous at best. The infant mortality rate was 5 times what it is today, and scarlet fever was among the leading causes of death. Concerned for his children's safety, on June 12, 1833, Hardman Phillips wrote this letter to his friend, Dr. James Henderson.
My dear sir, there being sundry cases of scarlet fever in this neighbourhood, though at present not of very virulent character, I am induced to inquire whether there have been any cases in your part of the country within the last 2 months. The reason for making this inquiry is that if the disease should assume a more malignant aspect than is now the case, whilst in your district it may have passed away, I would avail myself of the hospitality of our good friends the Norrises as an asylum for my children. Yours truly, Hardman Phillips.
Sadly, he and his wife Sophia lost their son, Hardman Lloyd, to the fever 2 weeks later. 4-year-old Edward followed, dying only 10 days after his brother. None of the Phillips' 5 children would survive past the age of 14. The Phillips returned to England in the 1840s. After her husband's passing in 1854, Sophia returned to Philipsburg to erect a monument in remembrance of her children and husband. In 1841, the community again collected funds to repair and improve the church. Hardman Phillips pushed for details, such as the crenellated-shaped bell tower and Gothic windows, as well as providing the bell, made in his Philipsburg screw factory. A plaster and clay stucco covering was applied to the outer walls, which is why it is called the Old Mud Church. The church still retains all these features from these renovations. With over 500 graves in the burial ground, many of which are unmarked, an ordinance was passed in 1872 that banned future burials, citing, "Each new burial unearths some poor, unknown soul." There were some exceptions made for spouses and other family members, with the last burial being John Hudson in 1907. The church continued to serve the community as a non-denominational house of worship, holding services for Methodists, Episcopalians, Lutherans, and others into the 1920s. The traditional call to evening worship was the lighting of 9 candles within. Outside, where the heirloom oaks have stood witness for over 300 years, there is a warmth that connects all who have called this village home, both yesterday and today.